What is a slap in the face job offer? 1. Potential employer said, "What's your current salary?" Me said, "Irrelevant." PE said, "We need to know." Me said, "Fair enough, it's 16,000. PE said, "Okay, we'll offer you 18,000. Me said, "Nope, you advertised 23,000. PE said, "Okay, how about 20,000? Me said, "No." PE said, "Okay, 23,000 then." Me said, "No." PE said, "Why not? That's the full amount?" Me said, "Because you just tried to diddle me out of £5,000. Why would I possibly trust you in future?" 2. My wife wanted to change jobs. She applied for and interviewed with a company, meeting 9 people over a 2-week period. Everyone told her that they liked her and her experience and would love to work with her. Then she met with the CEO and discussed her salary. My wife was transparent and told the CEO exactly what she made in salary, bonus, stock, etc. My wife was not looking for a raise. The CEO, after 2 weeks of thinking, offered her 80% of her previous salary with no bonus, no stock, nothing else. My wife replied saying that it did not even match her existing salary. The CEO replied back saying that the offer was rescinded. I told her that she has just dodged a bullet. 3. I was currently working a job that paid $67,000, but was looking for a new job that was a step up, both a higher level role and higher pay. During my first interview for a role, when asked, I told them I was interviewing for jobs in the range of $80,000 to $100,000, and many of my other interviews were for that much. The interviewer didn't comment on that, and I was offered another interview. I had 3 more interviews and salary was not brought up again during any of them. When an offer was made after the 4th interview, it came in at only $65,000. I told the recruiter on the phone that I was currently making more than that and asked if there was any wiggle room in the salary. She told me, essentially, that there was no wiggle room for me, specifically, based on my skills and experience, but she would ask the CEO if they could offer more. She asked what the lowest amount I would consider was and I told her I would not consider any offers below $75,000. She called back less than 30 minutes later telling me they could offer me $75,000. I still declined the job because I got a better offer the next day. I was offended by the offer since it was 1. Less than what I was currently making. 2. Considerably less than what I had stated the range I was looking at was. 3. Her statement that there was specifically no wiggle room for me based on my skills. 4. They clearly did have wiggle room in the salary and thought they could lowball me. 4. I once responded to a job ad that advertised a pay rate of $10.25 per hour. I showed up to the business to do an interview with the owner. The guy was busy so I had to wait 30 minutes past my scheduled time. Apparently, the guy didn't even remember what was on my resume, nor did he seem to care. He didn't even ask about my skills and mostly just talked up about himself and his business. Finally, at the end of the interview, he offered me the current minimum wage, $9.25 at the time. It was going to increase to $10 in a few months, and that we can sit down and talk about increasing the rate after a month. This was an IT software and hardware repair shop and I had a master's degree in computer science with several years of work experience. I wasn't looking for a massive salary rate, but a side gig that paid reasonably well. I wasn't going to work for minimum wage and then hope to God this business owner was going to be convinced to double the rate after 1 month. I was really surprised by the salary rate, but I caught myself before I might have reacted negatively and said, "I'll think about it." I probably would have accepted it at $15 an hour, but minimum wage for a position that requires some technical knowledge did not make any sense to me. I thought about it and there were just too many red flags. He didn't read my resume, which isn't respectful of my time to go to an interview. Did not even offer the pay rate mentioned in the advertisement. He lied. Clearly a sign that this guy is going to be very stingy. So the 1-month sit-down salary evaluation meeting did not look promising at all. Doesn't seem to be able to keep employees for very long. This was based on what I asked during the interview. Needless to say, I followed up with an email saying that this wasn't what I was looking for. 5. I was happy at my job, but one day a headhunter called me up and asked me if I would be interested in interviewing for a job that was a step up at a rival company. I hummed and hawed and thought, why not see what I am worth? At the worst I could ask my boss for a raise. I went to the interview. They were impressed and offered me a job. They wanted to know my current salary. I told them that the salary was only a small part of my pay, as I had a performance bonus that was substantially more than my salary. So I wanted to know what their bonus system was. It was woefully low. Compared to my current job, I would get a bonus that was maybe 20% of my salary, compared to the 200% of the salary I was getting. To make up for it, they offered me a 20% higher salary. I won't give real numbers, but here is how it would work out. I was currently getting $1,000 in salary, and $2,000 in bonus per month, for a total of $3,000. They thought salary was the key, and offered me $1,200 in salary and $240 a month in bonus for a total of $1,440. Less than half of what I was making, doing a job with less responsibility. I told them that I wasn't interested, and they offered to increase it to 30% increase in salary, which would have been just over half of what I was making. They just kept coming back to salary, and never seemed to grasp how substantial my bonus was. That was a slap in the face offer. I of course turned them down. They went bankrupt 18 months later. 6. I worked for a large aerospace company in the Midlands. I never worked more than my contracted 38 hours/week, traveled away from base once a month and needed an overnight stay 2 to 3 times a year. I was approached by a large consultancy to work for them and had a first round of informal meetings. Their HR person then phoned me and asked me about my current salary and expectation. Before I answered, I asked her to confirm what had been hinted at in the first meeting. 50-60 hours per weeks, 2-3 overnights a week. Yes, she said. In that case, current salary plus 20%. She went quiet and then asked why I expected that much. Extra hours and nights away. We are only allowed to offer 7% over current. I replied, I'm sorry, but that fails the Tesco test. What's that, she asked. I could work the extra hours stacking shelves in my local Tesco for minimum wage, make more money and still sleep in my own bed. 7. This happened to my wife. She interviewed for a position. She nailed a software testing interview to a point where some interviewers in the interview panel said after the interview, it would be a crime if this company did not pick her. She was obviously overjoyed and waiting for the offer. The offer did come 2 days later. She stated her current compensation and they agreed they would give at least 5K more. 2 days later the company came back with close to 20K less than her current compensation, saying that the company's CEO said that the job and the person who interviewed for the job did not deserve such a high compensation, and that since the office locality was already closer to her place, the company was doing her a huge favor already. My wife politely declined the offer, saying she was happy with her current job, which she was, except for the commute, and she said she would join the company if they offer her the same compensation. The recruiter went back to the CEO, and after 2 days of serious discussions with CEO, the recruiter came back excitedly and said the company was willing to offer 5K more than their previous offer, which was still 15K lesser than the previous offer. My wife was amused by the recruiter's excitement and said it was lesser than her current compensation and declined the offer. At this moment the recruiter should have left it like that and moved on, but she suggested that my wife was lying about her total compensation and that the position did not entail such an high pay in the current job market. This came after the recruiter accepted my wife's initial proposition and after one of the interview panelists stated that my wife had done the interview really well. Till this moment we were actually in a dilemma because the commute was really frustrating, 2 hours one-way commute. After this discussion my wife made her mind to stick with her current job and try for a different job later. My wife got a better paying job 1 month later within 5-mile radius. One of the panelists in that interview became family friend and said they were still looking for someone to fill that position after close to 2 months, and that the CEO suggested that he would actually reach out to my wife again with a better TC.